What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the Texas Rangers Report. And in this live stream, we have a bunch of news and rumors to talk about because the collective bargaining agreement is still being decided. However, the MLB and the Players Association have agreed to a universal DH, which could bring up topics surrounding a Willie Calhoun trade. That could be a possibility, but also um, they eliminated draft pick compensation for players with qualifying offers. So the Rangers, who have already signed two players to that had qualifying offers, and Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon, those guys, we may not lose draft picks for those guys, but we could also be open to signing guys like Miko Conforto, Trevor Story, and Nicholas Castellanos. So this is very big news regarding um, the entire MLB and how MLB teams will pursue the rest of this offseason. And who knows when this lockout is going to be completed and how much time teams are going to have in between the end of the lockout, spring training, and opening day, because there are a lot of free agent possibilities, trade possibilities. But if teams only have about a month to get all of those things done, is that really enough? That's kind of hard to tell right now. But let me break it. Let me break all this stuff down. So, going into the Willie Calhoun topic first, because I find this intriguing, and then I'll touch on Nicholas Castellanos, Trevor Story, whatnot. So, Willie Calhoun has been an underperformer in his time in a Texas uniform. 2019 was his best season, although that was the year with juice balls, but he's been the top prospect. It's just the injuries have really slowed him down. And now with the universal designated hitter, could teams be looking to maybe buy low, on Willie Calhoun, um, and then the Rangers try to get some pitching? Some teams that could be interested could be the Phillies, the Marlins, possibly the Rockies, the Nationals. Those are a few that come to mind. But also, the Rangers aren't really trying to compete this year. I know that we've signed really good players, and after the lockout, we're allegedly looking at Seiya Suzuki, Matt Olson, the Reds starting pitchers, etc., etc. But would it be worth it to give Willie Calhoun one more year in a Rangers uniform? I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. However, I guarantee you this: if he has another bad season, plagued with injuries, it will probably be his last year on the Rangers. Will probably be non-tendered as well, and then there's no value in that. However, I guarantee Willie Calhoun still has at least some value, because he did he, he raked as a prospect, and he had a solid season not too long ago in 2019. And when healthy, he has shown glimpses of being a productive major league hitter. So maybe you throw in another guy like Nick Solak. And would the Rockies be open to trading one of their starting pitchers, German Marquez and Tonio Cinzatella, Kyle Freeland? I'm not really sure. Or would it be a type of deal where you need a prospect? I don't really know how this situation is going to play out with Willie Calhoun, or how teams will approach inquiring about new designated hitters. because sure, you can just go sign a guy. The Rockies are interested in Kyle Schwarber. I know that. I think Chris Bryant as well. But I know a lot of teams will probably just use internal options. So that's something to keep an eye on. But now going into the major topic, in my opinion, and that is there's not going to be comp pick. You don't have to worry about comp picks whenever you sign players with qualifying offers. So the big question is, will the Rangers lose their second round draft choice and their third round draft choice in the 2022 MLB draft because Corey Seager and Marcus Semien signings? I still don't know. I've heard it both ways, and they both kind of sound like, oh yeah, that makes sense why they would. Well, yeah, that makes sense why they wouldn't. So, and let's be honest, these draft picks, like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, will help out tremendously next year. But these draft picks are going to be premium draft picks because we get the third pick in the first round. So that's going to be a high second rounder, a high third rounder, and not going too much into the nitty gritty, but you don't just lose a second and a third. You lose two later round picks and some international signing bonus pool money. So I don't know if Rangers will still lose the international signing bonus pool, but if we still get those picks, that will help boost our farm systems tremendously. And we all know that a lot of the teams that have played in the World Series in previous years have had top 10, top 5 farm systems in baseball. The Rangers are top 10, but do you think it's legit to be a get to the World Series? Do you think we need to push to be a top 5 farm system? Would trading for Matt Olson deplete our farm system, and then we're back to a middle of the pack farm system, and then we're having to just keep on climbing our way? Let me know what you think. But maybe a trade isn't the best route for Matt Olson because since there isn't draft pick compensation for people with qualifying offers, the Rangers can now just go about free agency as openly as possible because I know a few years back the Rangers were interested in Nicholas Castellanos. They elected not to sign him. That was the year that they signed Cal Gibson and Jordan Lyles and Todd Frazier. None of those moves really panned out, but this opens the market to guys like Castellanos, Michael Conforto, Carlos Correa. Obviously, we're not going to sign him. Trevor Story. I'm looking at the free agents on Spot Track. I don't really think too many more have received qualifying offers. I think the ones that have already signed with teams, but still. Oh, and Freddie Freeman. So you have Trevor Story, Freddie Freeman, Carlos Correa, Nicholas Castellanos, and Michael Conforto. So that's 5 free agents, but still, I guarantee you, if this rule wasn't in place, the Rangers wouldn't be going after these guys. Like, I guarantee they would still have interest in Castellanos, but now that this is a thing, I bet you their number one priority in the outfield is probably to at least inquire on Castellanos. Before this, it was probably Seiya Suzuki with backup options like Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson. But now you could sign Nick Castellanos and play him in left. You could sign him, make him your DH, but I don't think you'd sign this guy to the type of money or type of deal that he's commanding just to play DH, even though he is garbage in the field. I think the one that could really be a bang, help you on offense and defense would be Trevor Story. He still wants to play the shortstop position. If the Rangers were to sign him, you can play him at shortstop, move Corey Seager to third, and even though he still wants to play short as well, I think players might be open to changes given the talent on the roster. You keep Marcus Semien at second. You probably have Nate Lowe play first, and then you can move Josh Young to the outfield. Yes, that would be a lot of money in the infield. That'd be, I bet Trevor Story gets around a $20 million annual average contract. And then you have Corey Seager, who's roughly getting 30 mil. And then Marcus Semien getting about 20 mil as well. So that'd be 70 million just in the infield alone. But I think people need to remember that now in today's day and age, positions aren't always set in stone. It's not like back in the day. If you played second base, that's the only position you're gonna play in your entire career for the next 17 years. I could definitely see down the line, even though Trevor Story wants to stay a shortstop, maybe it's best for the team if he plays left field, or Josh Young, even though he is one of our top prospects, top third base prospect, maybe moving to left field to help out the team, maybe moving to first base. And same thing with Corey Seager. If in some crazy scenario we sign Trevor Story, maybe you move him to third, maybe you move him to first. I think the Rangers are looking at a bunch of scenarios. I don't think they're just taking like one route, meaning like, okay, we're a rebuilding club, let's just sign players and hope to trade them at the deadline. I think they're looking at all scenarios, so that's why I'm happy that they're looking at guys like Matt Olson. I guarantee they're going to look at Schwarber, Conforto, Rizzo, probably not so much. Freeman, not so much. But I think a lot of hitters are going to intrigue the Texas Rangers. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below about these new rules, trades that you would want to see the Rangers make, free agents that you would want to see the Rangers sign once this lockout is over. Personally, I know that the Rangers can sign Castellanos now, and they probably will have more interest in Castellanos now that the qualifying offer is off the table. But this is my 2 cents. He is a great hitter, but he doesn't really provide much in the field. I don't think the Rangers should really be going after that type of player. I think that they need to probably spend more on their pitching. But the problem is there's not really a lot of quality starting pitching out in the free agency market. The most notable guys still available, obviously, you still have Clayton Kershaw, you have Carlos Rendon, and then you have some lower tier players like Yusei Kikuchi, Danny Duffy, Carlos Martinez, Michael Pineda, those type of guys. Honestly, those guys don't really move the needle, minus Rendon and Kershaw, of course. But those guys are going to want anywhere from 20 to 30 million a year. And Rendon has only stayed healthy once. Kershaw is definitely on the decline, even though he will be going to the Hall of Fame. So I wonder if the best route for the Texas Rangers is to look at the trade market for starting pitching. And that's why I mentioned possibly trading Willie Calhoun to a team that needs a designated hitter, and maybe you package along Nick Solak, because along a few years ago, he looked like the next best second baseman for the Texas Rangers, maybe the next best Ian Kinsler. But honestly, I don't really know if he's going to turn that corner. And like I said with Willie Calhoun, if both of these guys don't have a good year as a Ranger, they'll most likely be non-tenders. So would it make sense for the Rangers to trade them right now? While they probably still have some value, I guarantee they still have some value to a team or teams are still interested. And you could probably acquire a starting pitcher. I guarantee there has to be some team interested. The Rockies are not the best. They were actually surprisingly not terrible, but they actually have some good starting pitchers that could be intriguing. So they could be a possibility. But then you have your other teams that have starters that are most definitely going to get traded. So you look at the Cincinnati Reds, you have Luis Castillo, Tyler Mahle, and Sonny Gray. Those are options right there. Luis Castillo, probably the most expensive to trade for, then Tyler Mahle, and then Sonny Gray. And then you look at the Oakland Athletics. I don't think they're going to trade everybody, but they're most likely going to trade a decent amount. Other players, you have Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, Chris Bassett. Those are another three players. And then you look over at the Miami Marlins. You have Eliezer Hernandez, who I've talked about in a video, possibly trading Willie Calhoun for him. I bet you could probably trade Willie Calhoun and Nick Solak for Eliezer Hernandez. Probably could be your fourth guy in the rotation, which isn't bad. That probably isn't a bad deal if we're being honest. But you could look at Eliezer Hernandez from the Marlins or Pablo Lopez, because let's be honest, if we don't sign another starting pitcher or trade for somebody, then all these aspirations that us fans have for the 2022 season are going to go out the window. But remember, the Rangers said they're trying to compete for 2023, not 2022. Obviously, we still have really high hopes for Jack Leiter, Cole Winn, but they most likely won't be in the majors till the end of this year. And then Jack Leiter maybe comes this year, probably next year. So if you go into the season as John Gray being your ace, that is really bad. And Dane Dunning as the number 2, I've already talked about this before. Dane Dunning's baseball savant numbers are really unimpressive. That isn't the worst thing in the world. Teams can work around that, but I do think they need outside help. I'll get to your comment in 1 second, but then I think there's some other ways that you can look at and find starting pitching. I do think a trade could get done with the Reds, probably with the Marlins. I'm really curious how the Oakland Athletics are going to leverage their AL West Division rivalry with the Rangers in trade talks, because I guarantee the Rangers aren't just going to inquire about Matt Olson. They'll probably inquire about some other starting pitchers as well. And then I also think you can go a little creative, maybe buy on some contracts. Obviously, we're trying to get out of that rebuilding phase, so you can't go and buy on an Eric Hosmer contract. That'd be crazy. And I don't think you can buy on more than one contract, but maybe you look at Will Myers from the Padres. He's getting paid $20 million. That's a pretty hefty fee. But if you take on a prospect, you could probably get a starting pitcher as that prospect that's major league ready. Or if you want another outfielder that's cheaper, you could go look at the Tampa Bay Rays. Kevin Kiermaier, who's injury prone, elite center fielder, usually below average with the bat, but you could buy that. It'd be cheaper, probably take on a major league ready pitcher, because the Rays are stacked. So those are ways the Rangers could acquire pitching outside of free agency, but also um, you could look to signing relief pitchers to minor league contracts because I think there are some underrated pitchers in free agency that you could get to minor league contracts. I was looking today. I think Heath Hembry, his baseball savant numbers are off the charts. He is a free agent. Richard Rodriguez, who was an all-star, I believe, with the Pirates, got traded to the Braves. He was non-tendered. He could still have some potential. So I think there is options out there. From Samuel Sandite, Pablo Lopez or Castillo are my options for the rotation. Yeah, so honestly, that would be really, really cool. Obviously, Castillo, I think, would cost the most out of any pitcher on the trade market. And then Pablo Lopez had a great year. I just don't think a lot of people realize that because, one, he got injured, didn't have a full season, but Miami just doesn't get a lot of attention. So that's another one. But also, I'm really curious if the Rockies would trade some of their starting pitching. They just started the rebuild. German Marquez is a really good pitcher. They actually have a lot of good pitchers. German Marquez, Antonio Senzatella, Kyle Freeland. They had John Gray last year as well. So their starting pitchers were kind of stacked last year. I wonder if they would be willing to trade. I know they just gave Antonio Senzatella a contract extension. And I know that German Marquez has 2 years left with a club option on the third year. Maybe he's more likely to go, but he is the ace of the staff. So I don't know. From Shane Ramsock. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. I want back Joey Gallo. That's an interesting one. I've heard a lot of mixed emotions from Rangers fans on getting Joey Gallo back. Like at the time of the trade deadline, obviously everybody was like, "What did the Rangers do? We just botched this trade," and now it's come back full circle, and everybody's like, "Let's go! We won this trade," because Yankees fans are fed up with Joey Gallo. Even though I think if Joey Gallo got comfortable in New York, I think he could be a legit player. Granted, if he stayed healthy. The thing is with Gallo, he wanted like Manny Machado money and like an extension. The Rangers believed he was more along the lines of a Nicholas Castellanos deal of like 2 seasons ago. Obviously, Castellanos is going to get the bank now. The Rangers aren't going to trade for him. That wouldn't make sense. I've talked about it on my channel because I've seen things like IKF for Joey Gallo. That just wouldn't make sense, even though I think Gallo's a better player than IKF. They both bring different things. However, Gallo has 1 year. IKF has 2 years. And then without the draft pick compensation now, if the Rangers are competing, you aren't going to trade him, and then he's going to leave for nothing, or you're just going to have to pay him a lot more in free agency, where if you are going to sign him, you could just sign him whenever he's done being a Yankee. From Samuel, what do you think will cost to get German Marquez? He hasn't been great, but he has upside and pitches in Coors Field. Actually, I looked up his FanGraph numbers, and they actually are pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you look at his raw ERA and whatnot, they probably don't look amazing, but I really do think if you get him out of Coors Field and behind a good defense, this guy could legitimately be an ace. for what he's getting paid, it could be a steal as well. So German Marquez, I'm looking it up right now. He had a 4.4 ERA last year with a 3.86 FIP. So obviously not an impressive ERA, but the FIP tells a different story. And he had a 3.4 WAR. And given that German Marquez is on a club-friendly deal, you could theoretically have him for 3 more seasons, I believe. You could be looking at, let's see. Honestly, I think the Rockies are pretty dumb as a franchise. They botched the John Gray negotiations because they didn't trade him at the deadline. They didn't give him a qualifying offer. They didn't extend him. And then they botched this Trevor Story situation because they didn't trade him. They gave him a qualifying offer, but since there's no draft pick compensation, they aren't going to get a draft pick most likely for Trevor Story. But what would it cost for German Marquez? I don't know if the Rockies would want. Here, let me just pull up this question again. If people are wondering what I'm talking about, I don't know if the Rockies would value prospects that take a few years to get to the big leagues or major league ready talent, because the Rockies didn't have a bad record last year. They finished with a record of I'm trying to pull it up, pulling it up on Baseball Reference. Whenever they trade Nolan Arenado, we thought that this team was going down the drain, but they finished with a record of 74 and 87, better than us, the Texas Rangers. Obviously, 74 and 87 is still bad, but you could look at it like, say you trade for a few guys, you sign a few free agents, and maybe they could be back in the playoffs sooner than we think. But answering your question, a trade, I think a mixture of MLB ready talent and then prospects that are close to the MLB. So if you're able to throw Willie Calhoun and Nick Solak in and like a lower tier prospect like I don't know, TK Roby. I know some people value him higher than others. I think that could be a solid trade. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Or you could go and get Kyle Freeland. That would be a lot cheaper. Maybe just like a one lower tier prospect, or Antonio Sensatella, who has maybe a little less upside than German Marquez, but you have a lot of team control. And if he becomes almost near an ace, then that is on a really team-friendly contract. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What would you give up for any of these Rockies players? Let me take a sip of water. And I'm actually looking up there's this website called baseballtradevalues.com, and you can look up the alleged value of the MLB player. So I'm actually looking up German Marquez just to see what they value him. I think the highest person I've ever seen on here is Ronald Acuna at like 200 something. And surprisingly, the Rangers' lowest valued players are like Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, but it's just because they have high contracts. They aren't the worst players on the Rangers. So, yeah, so German Marquez has a value of a 58.7 on the trade simulator. So I wonder if I could share my screen and maybe like do a proposed trade. So I'm sharing this. Perfect. All right, so we can start proposing trades, and this could actually be kind of fun. So this is Jermaine Marquez. I have him. I need to select the Rangers. Okay. And we'll have Marquez going to the Rangers. And you can see over here it has their median value, their lowest value, their highest value. So Marquez is their highest, and Zach Veen, Austin Gomber, Rogers, Romo, Connor Joe, Ryan McMahon. They don't have a lot of high valued players. And now let's flip it over to the Rangers. What would it take to get a deal done? You usually have to come in within a few points to make it realistic. The problem is Willie Calhoun and Nick Solak don't have any value in this trade simulator. Our highest value players: Josh Jung, Jack Leiter, Dane Dunning, Nate Lowe, Cole Winn, Ezekiel Duran. Take these values with a grain of salt. Do I think the Rangers would trade Justin Foscue for him? We would have to think about this, because if you trade for Jermaine Marquez, that would probably be your like ace that you'd be trading for. And would the Rangers be willing to trade Justin Foscue for Luis Castillo? Probably. So, granted, if you trade for Marquez, the Rangers probably think he's an ace. The Rockies probably think he's an ace. So the conversations probably start there. So I'll put in Foscue. So we still need to put in 40 more points of value. But I think these values are so far-fetched. You have Nick Solak. Let me know, who do you think I should put in this deal? Kind of not really sure. Because if this were real life, I definitely think TK Roby and Ricky Vanasco would be a lot higher. Could they potentially value a guy like Colby Allard? That's possible. And I do think Glenn Otto would be higher. So I have an idea. I'll give him AJ Alexi, wherever he is. Alexi. Yeah, see, they only have his value at 0.8, which is not true at all. But what do you think? AJ Alexi, Justin Foscue, and Nick Solak for Jermaine Marquez. Do you guys think that gets a deal done? I think that probably almost gets a deal done. Maybe you have to throw on Willie Calhoun, but granted, I'm saying that Marquez is ace material, kind of like Castillo. I think he is underrated, but you get 3 years of him. So you'd probably have to give it probably a little bit more than this. What do you think, Samuel? Trevor Halver, AJ Alexi, Ezekiel Duran for Marquez. Honestly, probably. And then you could use Willie Calhoun and Nick Solak to trade for another starting pitcher, because I don't know. I just really value starting pitching. And honestly, I think you could switch out Foscue for Duran. I for some reason, I really just value Foscue a lot more. No, I value Duran more than Foscue, but I could be completely wrong. Duran could be the next Brian Dozier or something. But Trevor, however, AJ Alexi, and Ezekiel Duran could probably um, get a deal almost done for Jermaine Mark. That would be actually, I would love that trade if I'm being honest. I would actually love that trade because if you go to the Reds, I guarantee if you go to the Reds for their lowest player to acquire in Sonny Gray, I guarantee they're going to ask for something like that. And God, who knows, for Justin Foscue, for Castillo, it's probably going to be around the lines of Justin Foscue. And then they're going to want another guy, maybe like Evan Carter, and then some other major league ready players. But I think Jermaine Marquez could be a solid steal. Let me pull up his contract. Colorado Rockies. Because you could theoretically have him for 3 years, which could be really interesting. I'll also look up his baseball savant. I never really gave this any thought until today, but this guy could be the most likely guy that they trade. Here you go, Jermaine Marquez. He's 27. Castillo is 29 or 30, so he's younger as well. You'd pay him 11 million this year, but granted, I think he could probably be better than Kershaw this year. Maybe not better than Rodon, but then 15 million, almost 15 million next year, and then a club option for 16. But if he's pitching like an ace, that could be a steal. I like this deal from Samuel Sandite. Duran has great exit velocity. He will hit bombs in Coors Field. Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of people can hit bombs in Coors Field. So I think Foscue would do just fine there. I think Willie Calhoun will do just fine there. And I think if I know Rockies have interest in Schwarber, if he were to sign there, that would be crazy too. From Mike Osmond. How are you doing, Mike? It's nice to see you. Most publications have Foscue in our top 5. You could get way better than Marquez if he's in the package. Interesting. So I'm going to look at German Marquez baseball savant, because the reason why we have been looking at him is because we feel like he could be an underrated option that not a lot of people in the MLB are really looking at, because maybe his ERA isn't the best. But granted, if he gets out of Coors Field, that could really benefit him. But maybe including Justin Foscue isn't the right thing. But then again, it's a lot of opinions on what people believe are the top prospects, I've seen places that have Duran as our number 4 prospect and Dustin Harris as our number 5. So yeah, let's see if Jermaine Marquez has good baseball savant metrics. Oh, on here it says he's only 26, so I'm guessing he'll be 27 when the season starts. Just wait a second for it to load. Here we go. Not anything crazy, if we're being honest. His best thing is that he doesn't give up barrels. And barrels are a mixture of exit velocity and launch angle. So he's in the 86th percentile. His fastball velocity is in the 73rd. His curve spin is in the 79th. Whiff percentage is in the 57th. Um, so honestly, nothing looks extremely crazy here. Fastball spin is in the 15th. Although I think there's been a lot of misperception about fastball or like spin rate in general ever since people have been using sticky stuff. People have thought that the best way to become a better pitcher is to have a fastball with a high RPM. Not really the case. It just tells you where you should throw in the zone. So if you look at where he threw in the zone, this is all of his pitches. It looks like his four-seam fastball was right down the middle of the plate. Slider didn't really look super tight. Curveball looks pretty solid. Sinker, and didn't look like he threw his changeup that much. Maybe the Rockies possibly could trade him. If we were to get Marquez, would you guys be okay not going after Kershaw? Or do you think Kershaw and Rodon are a must, and then the trading for starting pitchers is secondary? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But basically, the topic of this video is that obviously, let me go to full screen. Obviously, there's still a lot of things to be figured out with the CBA. But what we know is that there's going to be a universal designated hitter, which I'm excited about. I don't know what you guys think. I know a lot of older fans respectfully disagree, but I think it's going to be great for the game of baseball to have a universal designated hitter. So I mentioned that Willie Calhoun could possibly be a trade chip to teams that need a DH. I don't know how teams are going to go about this. Are they going to go internal options? Are they going to sign cheap players instead of giving up prospects or whatnot? Maybe you package in Nick Solak to get a lower tier starting pitcher. Could those two be used to get German Marquez? I don't know. Maybe that starts the negotiations. Marquez is probably super valuable to the Rockies, so that could be a talking point. But then, since there's no comp picks, you sign a player to have a qualifying offer, and you don't have to lose a draft pick. That opens up a whole new ball game for the Texas Rangers. And the question is, do we still lose draft picks for signing Trevor Story and Marcus Semien? I don't know. I've heard both ends of the spectrum. You guys here on the channel don't think we will lose a draft pick, and respectfully so. I understand why you believe so, because you think it will apply. This rule will apply to every free agent in this period. But I've also heard the other spectrum from Evan Grant, writer for the Dallas Morning News. And since these guys were signed under the old collective bargaining agreement, he said that the Rangers will most likely lose these picks. So take it how you want it. But even if we lose these picks or we get them, that doesn't stop the Rangers from going after Nicholas Castellanos or Trevor Story or Michael Conforto. Who knows? Because those picks we know we won't lose. So those are big topics, because I do think if this weren't a rule, the Rangers probably would just go, because obviously outfield's a need. So we'd probably just look at Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant. And if we didn't get those guys, with Seiya Suzuki probably being the number one option, you look at Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario. But now you can look at a whole new group of players. You could sign Story, play him at short, move Seager over the third. And then you could play Josh Young at left field. You could play him at first base. That would be a lot of money in the infield, but you never know. I never thought that we would sign two elite caliber shortstops. So I'm not really going to rule out anything in this year's free agency period. Going to the comments real quick. And if you guys want me to do any more trades on that simulator, definitely can. Just let me know who you think I should trade for. Or if you want me to look at baseball savant numbers, let me know in the comment section down below. From Samuel, getting Marquez, and either Kershaw or Rodon will put the Rangers in a great spot to compete in 2023. Yeah, I do agree. I definitely agree. And if the league doesn't value Marquez as high as some probably should, then that's not going to hurt our farm system at all. And obviously, signing Kershaw or Rodon won't hurt our farm system at all because we're just giving money out and that's it. And then you'd have the likes of, so let's see, in the future you'd hopefully have Kershaw, Marquez, John Gray, Colwyn, Jack Leiter. That's looking pretty solid. And maybe Marquez doesn't pan out, you can always switch that out. But I do think that looks like a solid rotation going into the future because you still have backup plans. Like you have Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn, Colby Allard. Like maybe those guys figure it out. Dane Dunning looked promising last year, but I'm sure that the Rangers are always going to find ways to better themselves. And if I'm being honest, Kershaw, Marquez, Gray, Wynn, Leiter, that seems like a better five than having Dane Dunning in. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. From Mike, I don't know. If I'm an older fan at 45, I don't know. If I'm an older fan at 45, but I love universal DH. Yeah, I totally agree. And like I totally understand where older fans are coming from when they say they like the strategy and it brings a uniqueness to baseball. But the problem with that, like building off of that respectful disagreement, whatever, the game of baseball is still a sport that is popular amongst older people. And I think this is great and many reasons. Getting the universal DH, it will probably attract a younger audience, which is great for the game of baseball. So that's one. Another thing is that it's going to prevent pitchers from getting injured. And yeah, of course, it's fun to see Jacob deGrom or Bartolo Colon hit a home run like every 100 at bats, but Jacob deGrom was pitching like he should have won the MVP, Cy Young in the same year. And then how did he get injured? Oh yeah, in batting practice. And could you imagine if you're a National League hitter, you have to worry about getting the best hitters in the game out, but also, oh shoot, I have to go take batting practice as well. So, and probably I guarantee most didn't give 2 Fs whenever they were taking batting practice because they're a pitcher. And from high school, there's things called POs, pitchers only. And then when they get to college, it's even worse. And then, so, I mean, there's a statistic that like pitchers as a whole had like a 108 batting average with a negative 22 weighted runs created plus. So, and another reason, so one, it attracts the younger generation. Two, I forgot my second reason. Oh, it protects pitchers. Three is going to make the game more interesting because I always felt like the pitcher was an easy out, but I think it creates more jobs in the league. Because if you look at Nelson Cruz, obviously he was going to get a job no matter what. But if you look at maybe Buster Posey, if he knew this was a rule, maybe he wouldn't have retired. He could have just been a designated hitter for the Giants, or a guy like Ryan Braun. Maybe he wouldn't have retired as early. So I think this is a good move for the game of baseball. From Samuel Sandite, Joe Musgrove or Noah Syndergaard would be good targets for the Rangers next offseason. Yeah, and I was going to say, like, Noah Syndergaard already signed to a qualifying offer this year, so we wouldn't even have to worry about it next year, but we won't have to worry about it anyways because of the new rule in place. However, I mean, it's probably not going to change, but if something awry goes super crazy and it all changes, then we don't have to worry because Noah Syndergaard has that qualifying offer signed with the Angels. Sorry, guys. My voice is kind of running low. Is there any players you want me to look up their baseball savant numbers, or any trades you want me to look up? So one trade I want to look up on this trade simulator is for Eliezer Hernandez from the Marlins. And this move would be about just acquiring depth in the rotation. It's not like you're trading for Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, or German Marquez. This is kind of like trading for, he should probably be a number 4 guy in the rotation. As it stands right now, he would probably be number 3 in the Rangers rotation. Maybe even number 2, I'm not going to lie. I think he is better than Dane Dunning. And as it stands right now, the rotation would be John Gray, Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn, Colby Allard, Glenn Otto, AJ Alexi. That is really frightening, to say the least. So the Marlins are a team that have a lot of pitching depth. They have Trevor Rogers, the rookie sensation. As I say, they have a lot of pitching depth. I can't even think of any of their pitchers. But they have a lot of pitching depth. Sandy Alcantara, Jorge Lopez, and they have a lot of good pitching prospects as well. Max Meyer, Eduardo Cabrera, Sixto Sanchez, who could be on the outs as well. I talked about that in a previous video, but we're going to look for Eliezer Hernandez. These are their trade values right here. Let's go find Hernandez. So this is Eliezer Hernandez. His value is a 5.2. That's not going to be hard to trade for at all. You could probably, oh shoot, I need to clear out these old players, but I guarantee you could throw in real life, since pitchers are more valuable than hitters, you could throw in Nick Solak and Willie Calhoun, and boom, this trade, it will be done. So let's see. Let me just get rid of him. Okay. And you get rid of Justin Foscue because there's no way that we're going to be trading Justin Foscue for Eliezer Hernandez. If we're trading Justin Foscue, it's for maybe German Marquez, maybe Matt Olson, maybe Luis Castillo, those type of players. And then we'll go throw in Willie Calhoun. So, oh yeah, I forgot we have two Calhouns. Um, yeah, I totally forgot about Cole Calhoun because he's probably just gonna. Oh, look, Willie Calhoun has 0 value. Cole Calhoun somehow has a 0.4 value. So, oh look, you can also add cash. So look at this trade. Marlins get Willie Calhoun, who will probably need a DH. They could probably use Garrett Cooper and have Jesus Aguilar play first. But they're a team that needs bats, and Solak is a bat. Calhoun is a bat. They both have potential, haven't lived up to it, and we're a team that needs pitching. We get Eliezer Hernandez. Let's see if this trade goes through. Validate trade. Trade accepted. This appears to be a fair trade proposal for each team. Now post it to our. Okay, so let me know what you think. Does that sound like a good trade for the Texas Rangers? Now, one that you probably want to see, a trade for Luis Castillo and Matt Olson. I will do that right now. But I want to know what trade you guys would do for Luis Castillo. I'll put it in the. Oh shoot! I just realized you guys didn't even see the trade. I'm so sorry. Shoot, that's funny. Okay. No, hold up. I need to figure this out. So, so that's the trade right there. I'm so sorry. You guys didn't see any of that. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. I'm gonna reshare the screen. Perfect. So trade proposals as well. And I wonder why this isn't working. Wait a minute. Perfect. Oh no, that's not perfect. Okay, we need to stop that. So just bring in your trade proposals. It could be IKF to the Yankees, a Matt Olson trade to the Rangers, a Luis Castillo trade to the Rangers. Let me know what you guys think. I'll put it on the trade simulator and we'll see if it goes through. Oh, there we go. Figured it out. So yeah, I did Willie Calhoun and Nick Solak for Eliezer Hernandez. You probably heard my reasoning, but you just didn't see the actual graphics to go along. From Samuel Sandite. And thanks to everybody that's actually still watching. I appreciate it. Connor Falefa to the Yankees will make the Yankees fans happy. I don't know. I feel like the Yankees would be happy for 2 seconds, and then the second that they realize IKF doesn't have a good bat, then they'll be like, we should have signed Carlos Correa or Trevor Story or something. Even though we know that IKF is a solid player, but we also know that the bat is non-existent. And given that he's 26, I don't know if his bat will come alive at all. So that brings up the possibility, does a trade make the best sense? I know the Rangers are trying to build a really good atmosphere in this clubhouse built on team unity and whatnot, but IKF does have value out in this market to specific teams like the Yankees that don't want to pay top dollar for one of the top shortstops, and he will provide value to the Rangers. We know that. He could be our third baseman, but I really hope it's Josh Young. He could be a utility player for us. I guarantee he could play all the outfield. But the thing is, I guarantee his highest value is going to be right now because teams need a shortstop. And if you wait till the trade deadline, you lose half a season of his value. And granted, if he plays terrible, which he seems like a steady player, we know what we're going to get from him. But if he plays terrible, the value will plummet. And do we really think we're going to sign back IKF in free agency? I don't think so. I think a trade makes the most sense. We could go after. I really don't think getting prospects in the lower levels of the minor league would make any sense. I think if they're in AAA, that could make some sense because they could have an impact on the big league club this year. Or if you trade for immediate starting pitching, that can make sense. Or if you use it in a trade for like Matt Olson, that can make sense. But let me know what you guys think. Does an IKF trade make sense? From Samuel, Yankees do have shortstops coming. IKF could be their stopgap. I think that is the idea in mind. Because I know going into the offseason, the Yankees were so interested in, it seems like every shortstop Story, Seager, and Correa, but they do have two good shortstops on the way, Anthony Volpe and I forget the other one's name, but they're on their way. Will they be ready this year? No. Next year, possibly. So I think that's why the Yankees changed their mindset. They're also a team that's always close to the luxury tax, but who knows? The luxury tax could totally get abolished this year, and they could be fine. But that's the reason they've been linked to guys like IKF. They've actually been linked to Andrelton Simmons, even though he's probably – those are probably good comps. IKF and Andrelton Simmons, probably closely related players. Andrelton Simmons probably a little bit better with the glove, and IKF probably a little bit better with the bat. From Mike Osmond, most of my pitching trade ideas would be more midseason. Where are we? Wait, most of my pitching trade ideas would be more midseason. Okay, that's completely fine. Although I am a little curious, what makes you think that the Rangers should wait till midseason instead of just go for it right now? Again, from Mike, where are we type of trades? Like a DeGrom trade would be if we were over 500 in July, that might make sense. Okay, so I think what you're trying to get at is like, say back, I don't know, I did a video a few days ago about the best trades in Rangers history. So if you haven't watched that, go make sure to check it out. But there's 3 trades that say if we do get to the ground, which as crazy as that sounds, the Rangers have done trades like that in the past. So starting off, we had Cliff Lee. That guy helped us reach the World Series and get to the playoffs, go far in the playoffs and reach the World Series. And that could be similar. Same with the deals like Cole Hamels and never mind. It's just Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels. But the Rangers weren't even above 500 when they traded for Cole Hamels. They just knew that they had a chance. They traded for him, and we got to the playoffs, and we won the division. So I get what you're coming at right here. So maybe if like the Rockies hold on to German Marquez and we were close, we could trade for him or some other pitcher that we're not even thinking about. Like, because I don't know if you would trade for Castillo at that point because he had 1.5 years of team control. I mean, teams probably still would, but maybe there's another pitcher. But I know what you're getting at. If we're close, maybe that's when you make the move. But I still think you definitely need starting pitchers right now because our pitching depth at the big league level is pretty bad. And I don't think you can just trust on the promises from Glenn Otto and AJ Alexy. Because I remember a few off seasons ago, Kyle Cody had a really strong showing in 2020, and everybody's like, he could be the number 3 or number 4 in the rotation. And look what happened this year from Samuel. Yankees still have to pay Judge. He might get extended this offseason. They might pass up on. That's why they might pass up on top shortstop. I think a number of factors. They probably didn't know what was going to happen with the luxury tax. And then they have a lot of guys on bad contracts. You got Giancarlo Stanton. You have Zach Britton. You have who's that other outfielder? Well, anyways, they have another outfit. They have a lot of bad contracts on that team. So, granted, signing another guy to a $30 million, $20 million contract would just be a lot of money on the Yankees' books. So, I think the Yankees were just thinking about a completely different strategy because their Yankees just always seem to be rumored to the top free agents, top trade targets. But I think they feel like they kind of need to get away from all those bad contracts and build through their farm system like they did a few years ago whenever Andrew Har, Judge, and Gary Sanchez were the top thing. Oh, yes. Aaron Hicks is the other outfielder. Thank you. That's exactly who I was thinking about. But I think that's what the Yankees are trying to do. It's a number of factors. So, if there's anything else right now that on your mind, feel free to put it in the comment section down below, whether it's a free agents the Rangers should target, trades you would like to see for the Rangers, even minor league deals you'd like to see. We're talking about this pretty much all the time in the Discord. I'll put the Discord link in the, let's see, and I'll put the Discord in the chat. So if any of you guys haven't joined, you can join the Discord because honestly, we all know about the Cincinnati Reds pitching, the Oakland Athletics pitching, the Marlins pitching, but really I didn't even think about German Marquez or any of the Rockies pitching until today. And that all started in the Discord, if I'm being honest. But I think this, with all these rule changes, I think it's good for baseball. If you think about it, in football, if you sign players, you have to lose. You actually don't lose a pick. You just, it's kind of a weird system. So, like, say you lose a player that's a free agent signs with another team, then you'll get a comp pick, but you don't lose a pick. You just, like, say the Dolphins signed Dak Prescott. So the Cowboys would get a comp pick, but the Dolphins don't lose any picks. But then let's say the Cowboys go out and sign Russell Wilson, then the Cowboys, that comp pick becomes canceled out because the Cowboys just signed a free agent. But then the Seahawks get a comp pick, if that makes sense. So you're never really losing any picks in the NFL if you're trading. And then there isn't any comp pick situation in the MLB. I think this is a good thing because, especially if you're an older player and you have that qualifying offer attached to you, it could definitely detract some teams, and they probably wouldn't be as interested. So I think this is a good offseason for the Rangers. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot more to do, let's be honest. But we've already signed John Gray, Corey Seager, and Marcus Semien. But this offseason could go in so many interesting and exciting ways. We could get Matt Olson. Is that the smartest decision? I don't know. We could go get Castillo. We get Jermaine Marquez. We could pick up some bad contracts in Kevin Kiermaier or Will Myers and get some starting pitching or pitching prospects in the process. Let me know what you think as I take some time to put in the Discord link in the chat. And once again, I do thank everybody for taking time out of the day to always watch my videos and comment, but also to watch a 1 hour and 10-minute live stream. I appreciate it. From Mike Osman, A's signed Eric Thames to a minor league deal today. Makes me think a tentative deal is probably in place with somebody to move Olson, or close. And that's actually extremely interesting. And a lot of you guys are extreme baseball fans like me, so we all know that. Let me share my screen again. I can pull up baseball or fan graphs. We are sharing Eric Thames, older player, probably out of his prime, but I mean, for a minor league deal, that's not bad at all. A guy drafted in the 7th round by the Blue Jays, didn't really do well in the majors, went over and played, I don't know if it was Korea or Japan, but he raked there, came back and played with the Brewers, and he didn't do much in the field, but he raked. Look at that 125 weighted runs created plus and a 2.2 WAR. He had a 359 on base, 518 slug with 31 home runs, and next season a drop off, but 105 weighted runs created in 2019. Again, juice balls, but 116. So he's an above average hitter, but didn't do well in the COVID season, and then didn't play last year. But that is interesting. Definitely seems like the Athletics are preparing for something. Obviously, maybe if the Rangers trade with them, maybe the Athletics ask for Nate Lowe, and then most likely Eric Thames plays AAA ball for them or gets released or something. But that is telling. And I also wonder, obviously, no transactions can happen in this period besides minor league deals that don't count, because obviously the Rangers have to sign a few guys. I made some videos on those. But I wonder how many conversations teams have with other organizations about trades and with other agents about free agency. So I wonder how quickly, once this lockout is over, how quickly things will pick up again, if it's going to be instant or if it's going to take some time. Oh, shoot. Hold up. Almost logged into my Gmail with you guys watching. He is most famous for that first April. He had a ton of home runs. Yeah, definitely. Honestly, he probably washed up now, but I mean, he still had 3 productive seasons in the majors. How old is he? 35. So I doubt the Athletics believe that Eric Thames is gonna replace Matt Olson, but they're just it seems like they're preparing and a guy who probably won't hurt you at the major leagues, but um, even if they had Nate Lowe, I guarantee Nate Lowe is starting over him. Again, from Mike, I'm not saying it's with the Rangers, but that looks like it's happening with somebody. Oh yeah, the trades and whatnot. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen real quick, just so I can log into my Gmail and share the Discord. Because honestly, I try to make as much content as possible every single week, but um, obviously, like I can't like talk about every single trade idea or possible free agent. And so it's a lot easier to have like a few minute conversation in Discord or just talk about some smaller stuff like that. From Nathan Kohler, hey, how are you doing? This is the first time I believe I've seen you on a live stream, so welcome to the live stream. And it seems like we have some other user, but yeah. So yeah, basically we've been just talking about a lot of rumors and MLB news. And if you like that type of stuff, we talked about Matt Olson, Luis Castillo, and actually Jermaine Marquez. I know that's not a rumor, but it could possibly be. So if you like that stuff, make sure to stick around and stay here for the long haul and subscribe. Right now, I'm getting the Discord link to the Discord because that's where a lot of other solid Rangers conversation goes on. Just curious, how is everybody's day going so far? My day was pretty solid, so obviously I like to talk about other stuff besides Rangers. So I went to school. Um, then I run track and field, so we had a pretty tough workout today. It was a lactic acid workout. So my legs got a little tired, and then went home, took like an hour nap because I'm always tired after school, and then watched Survivor, the CBS TV show, and now I'm on the live stream. Okay. So I would say I had a solid day. I don't think like every day is gonna be like a super great day because I don't think you can really chase like happiness, you know. But if you had like solid productive days, I think those are really underappreciated. Because I feel like we live in a society where everybody really just tries to str- chase happiness or chase a good feeling, you know. And I think the days where you're just pushing through and you just enjoy the normal stuff are undervalued because whenever COVID came around, we all took things for granted, and then like, oh shoot, we can't see people anymore. So it just changes your perspective a little bit on the little things that you always take for granted. At least it did for me, anyways. Perfect. I finally got the Discord link. You're a wise dude, my man. Head to bed. Thanks for a stream. Good night. Have a good night, Mike. Here you guys go. Here is the Discord link. Check out the Discord. Talking about Ranger stuff almost every single day there. So if you're on, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Boom, you got a bunch of Rangers content, and join this Discord. You have even more Rangers content with a bunch of other Rangers fans chiming in as well. It's a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff you don't even like think about. And that's how I got the German Marquez trade rumors today. From Teflon Breed, what's up, Colin? In your honest opinion, do you think an agreement can be reached in time for spring training? That's the question of the offseason, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I think it's up in the air, let's be honest. But I think the owners and the Players Association are meeting tomorrow, and Rob Manfred said he thinks this will be the last time that the owners and the players should theoretically meet. However, I don't think that means anything at all. So, yes, they figured out new rules. They figured out DH and draft pick comps or whatnot, but the economics are still few and far between on what they agree with. So I think that what what's his name? Robert Manfred said this could be the last meeting between the two parties, could be deployed as an effort to make the Players Association seem like the bad guys in this situation, because the owners are the ones coming with the proposal. And if the Players Association doesn't accept, then it seems like they're the ones that are holding these conversations or negotiations behind. So take what you hear from Robert Manfred with a grain of salt, because obviously you never know what he could be thinking or trying to deploy. You obviously hope that he says that with good intentions for the future of baseball or just baseball in general. And hopefully spring training starts on time, but I'm not going to make any suggestions. I'm just taking it day by day to answer your question, Teflon Breed. But also, sorry, hopefully I did answer your question that the new rules are nice, but take everything with a grain of salt, taking it day by day. Yeah. And Robert Manfred's comments could be used as a way to make the Players Association seem like the bad guys. From Samuel Sandine, Josh Smith, and for you guys that don't know, Josh Smith is a journeyman. He's dealt with problems off the field, but we signed him to a minor league contract. Josh Smith apparently was told that even though they signed Simeon, never mind. Josh Smith is the prospect. How did he? Sorry, that's my dog. Josh Smith apparently was told that even though they signed Simeon this year, he's in the Rangers' future plans. Do you buy that? Yeah, I buy that because he's athletic enough. He could play right field, left field. He seems like, I'm pretty sure you've said this before, Samuel. He looks like a Whit Merrifield type of guy, and I totally believe that. You could probably deploy him. He's a shortstop, second baseman right now, but you could use him as a utility player. I totally believe that he's in the future plans. But also, if you think about it, do you really think that the organization is going to be like, yep, you're no longer in our future plans. Look at the guys we signed. I'm sorry. I just don't think an organization would ever do that. Even if the writing's definitely on the wall, I think that they would approach it differently. But he's definitely in the future plans. I think guys that aren't in the future plans, probably guys that aren't as athletic or maybe as one-dimensional, or they're reliever risky. So maybe you look at guys like Ricky Vanasco, TK Roby, Blaine Prim, and if we really do go after one of these top like players, maybe Justin Foskey, because he just seems like he seems like the next best prospect after the top three. We're not going to trade the top three, so that's my 2 cents on the prospects and the future. Because all these guys, even though we have a plethora of middle infielders, they can all move around. Because Joey Gallo, he was a third baseman, moved to first, moved to left, moved to center, moved to right. Now he's a Gold Glover. So just saying. From Shane Ramsuk, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel. With Trevor Bauer being ousted, can Rangers get him? Yeah. So the thing with the Trevor Bauer situation, even though there's no criminal charges being charged against Trevor Bauer, I still think it's a sticky situation. He's still under contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers, so it's not the only way that the Rangers would get him if he were cut by the Dodgers, or if he were to be traded. But since there weren't alleged crimes or whatnot, I think they would just play him because that's a lot of money just to release him, and he's a solid player whenever he is on your team. But the reason why it does get sticky is because the MLB can still go and research the alleged rape or whatnot, because the people that were researching it was the Pasadena police. So the MLB can go look at it and they can say, oh yeah, we find something suspicious, you get yourself a 60-game suspension. And I think a lot of you guys are Cowboys fans. Something similar happened along the lines to Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think he was charged for anything with the Dallas County Police, but Roger Goodell and the NFL went in, did their own little research project, and then they found something. I don't know what it was. He got himself a 6-game suspension. So luckily for Trevor Bauer, he didn't get arrested because like if he did do what was accused, and obviously that's not good, but I don't wish the worst for anybody because that just wouldn't be good. So, but I still think that's a sticky situation, and who knows how the league views him now after he's already been a controversial person outside of this topic. I don't think the Rangers go out and get him. From Teflon Breed, do you think Sam Huff will end up our future catcher or first baseman? Where does he fit best? Honestly, I don't think he belongs as our future catcher. And I think a lot of sites have been like, Sam Huff, is he going to replace Jose Trevino and Jonah Heim at the middle of the year? I think that's totally false because he's already had 2 injuries to his knees in the past year, and that's super concerning for me. And for a guy that's 6'5", 250, basically the size of Joey Gallo, there was going to be a lot of pressure on his body behind the plate, but also just given the wear and tear that comes with being a catcher, I think it was going to be even tougher for him to stay at the position. And if you look at first base, that position looks like maybe it could be open for him, but you do have Nate Lowe, and he's going to be on the team for the next 5 years. But then if you go and trade for Olsen, then that's another obstacle you have to deal with. He could always be the DH, but the problem with him is that I really don't know what his position would be. Obviously, his bat looks good, but the strikeouts are worrisome. And obviously, we've dealt with people that have strikeouts before, aka Joey Gallo. the thing that separates Joey Gallo is he gets walks. So obviously, I know there's a lot of people that don't value Joey Gallo, but he still provides value to the team. But if you strike out and you don't get on base with walks, then and you don't have a position on the team, I really don't know how you provide value to the team. Maybe he provides value in a trade. That could be possible. I really do hope for the best for Sam Huff, but I think this year will be a telling year of, is he gonna stay at catcher, or is he just gonna move to a corner outfield spot, or a first baseman, or is he a trade chip for future major leaguers down the road? Because even if we don't trade him this year, the Rangers are trying to turn the corner, and he could be traded in 2023. You never know. So I appreciate everybody who has been watching so far. And if this is your first time watching, try to post about 5 times a week on this channel with a live stream every single week. And if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because I'm your number one source for all things Texas Rangers on YouTube. And also make sure to check out and join the Discord, putting that link again in the chat, just so you guys can join it and you can have Rangers pretty much all season long, even in the lockout. From Teflon Breed again, I don't hear much about Apostle. Have they gave up on him? I don't think they've given up on him, but his top prospect status when he was like the 10th best prospect in the Rangers farm system has definitely worn off. Just like Huff, he's dealt with injuries. A guy that really isn't like the best defensively. He has a cannon for an arm, but he's on the 40-man roster spot, and he has a 40-man roster spot. And whenever you become a competing ball club, 40-man roster spots are hard to come by. So this will be another telling year for another prospect. For a player to be named later in the Keone Keller trade, this looked like it was going to be a steal. He didn't have the best of years last year. Maybe he just needs another season in the minors, get his stuff together. But I think this year will be telling, because I remember last year, John Daniel said that Josh Young and Jordan Apostle are really close in their developmental. And obviously Josh Young teared it up in AA, teared it up in AAA, and Jordan Apostle didn't really tear it up at any levels in the minor leagues. So I think he starts the year at AAA. But if he doesn't do well, you could see him as trade bait, possibly right now, because if he doesn't do well this year, most likely he's non-tender to get him off the 40-man. But maybe use him as trade bait right now, because I know that the Rangers have some prospects that are losing their status, like Steele Walker, who we got in the Nomar Mazara trade, Sam Huff, and Jordan Apostle. These are my opinions. It seems like they've been falling down. Davis Wenzel seemed like a declining player, but out of those guys, Jordan Apostle or Davis Wenzel, I really think Wenzel has a brighter future, just because I don't think he'll strike out as much. So I'm gonna end this live stream. I appreciate everybody that's been watching. I'm gonna end it in a few minutes, but if you have any more comments, please leave them down below. I'll log off in about a minute, but yeah, if you have any more comments, just drop them down. I'll answer them as quick as possible, and I appreciate everybody who's watched. From Sean McNally, Isaiah DH or trade bait? Thanks for watching. I appreciate you joining the channel, but my 2 cents, I think Isaiah would be solid third, but an even better utility player. The thing is, he has 2 years of trade value, and I think there's a lot of teams that will value a cheap, solid shortstop. Um, I personally look at IKF as trade bait because his bat probably isn't going anywhere. He's a Gold Glover, and you can use him for guys like prospects that are AAA ready, major league players, or you can use them in a greater trade for like Luis Castillo or Matt Olson or something like that. And if you wait to the deadline, he loses a half of year of control for the other team. But if you hold on to him, you're most likely not gonna sign him in free agency. I think this looks like a solid time to get get solid value on IKF. And I don't think the Rangers want to trade him, but do you think they want to trade Joey Gallo? I don't think so. I think if the right trade presents itself, then they probably should pull the trigger. And if you're looking for a utility player, like IKF would be a great one because he's so versatile. He's good at defense, below average with the bat. I know you look at his average, it's like 280. That's pretty solid, but he's really not a good hitter. You could look at Eli White because he provides solid defense as well. But he's even worse with the bat. You could look at some players on minor league deals, maybe bring Charlie Culberson or Brock Holt back. You could look at Andy Ibanez in some platoon situations, or Yoni Hernandez, who probably needs time in the minor leagues, but there's definitely options for the Texas Rangers. But I appreciate everybody who's watched tonight. I appreciate everybody who's watched. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.